everyone, welcome to Mindspeak on Herald Global. I am Saimik Sen. Joining us today, a talented, seasoned actor, Mr. Joy Sengupta, is renowned for his enthralling performances. With his exceptional talent and magnetic presence, he continues to leave a lasting impression in the world of entertainment. Thank you so much, Mr. Sengupta, for taking out this time for us. Welcome to Herald Global.
Thank you so much. My pleasure being here.
Okay, so let me begin by asking you what inspired you to pursue a career in acting?
As a child, I realized that my basic soul used to veer towards the world of imagination and creativity. I used to literally live from a very young age in a space which was imaginative. My head built stories. I was a voracious reader. So I was introduced to books and literature from age 4 and world literature from age 4. So I used to read. I used to absorb a lot. And all those used to churn inside me and create further stories from my imagination. So much so that when I was in school, in junior school, I started directing plays. I started writing plays. Yeah. So borrowing from the stories I read, I would create plays on my own. I would direct my friends and colleagues from my class and stuff and create a play all together and present it to the school. And those were highly appreciated. So I realized that I was most comfortable when I was in that world. Now you can call it make-believe world, you can call it the world full of magnetic stories, you can call it world of imagination, whatever it is. It was different from the day-to-day world.
Sure.
I didn't necessarily enjoy the rigor of the day-to-day world. You know, I was very shy, very introverted in school, very introverted and shy. I would shy away. But come the space of cultural interaction, I would come into my own. So the theater, of course, where I could become someone else. I didn't have to be me, Joy Sengupta. When it came to things like recitation or debate, I was pretty good in debating, you know, making logical points and stuff, conjuring up ideas and stuff, reciting poetry, writing essays. So anything to do with art, culture, imagination, creativity, I was at home and very comfortable. But elsewhere, I would be awkward, I would be shy, introverted, not very focused also as far as studies was concerned. Maybe largely because I think now the way we were taught was not really the right way to get across to every kind of student. There are students who may not be blessed with the ability to focus all the time or to be driven towards, you know, conjuring up all that is being taught and stuff like that. So there are different kinds of students, which I realized when I turned a teacher later on. So our teachers in those days would come and address a class of 50 and teach generically. And they will always be the front benchers and the middle benchers and the back benchers. Some would reciprocate, some wouldn't. Some would receive, some wouldn't. They would be labeled as bad students or bad apples of the basket, etc., etc. So all these demarcations would create complex and create other things. So not blessed with a great education system. I found my education in art, culture, and literature specifically. So that thing, and my thankfully some teachers noticed it in school, right from junior school to senior school. They told me, they put this idea in my head that you are good at this aspect of communication, which is borrowed from the world of art, ideas, imagination, creativity. I was also told by people outside who saw me perform at a very young age that I think you should be thinking of a career in maybe such and such things. These ideas were put in my head from a very young age. And thereafter in college, I was lucky to get literature as my prescribed course. I did honors in English because I was a voracious reader and I was into literature. And there was no drama course in college. So I took literature, the second best option, which was about stories again, which was about reading and writing and understanding and living in the world of characters and so so thereafter during college things became very serious. We were getting in college. I formed dramatic society with my friends, and we had a particular teacher professor who was very interested that we do it right way. So she suggested that we get directors from outside the college. We started getting NSD graduate to come and direct us. So there was this one person called Surendra Sharma who took to us not just as students from any college, but as serious theatre practitioners. So he actually helped us understand the world of theatre and how theatre connects to the outside world, etc., etc. So it helped us in college to actually mature. Theatre helped us to mature more than other subjects or teachers, to understand that what we were doing was important. It was not just something frivolous or not just for entertainment. In school, it was always for entertainment. We're doing it to entertain ourselves and we entertain others. But in college, they told us that this is not just entertainment. This is something much deeper. You have to understand reality to understand the reality that you are presenting through theater and stuff like that. So that made us feel very responsible and very matured suddenly. And all these workshops that we were attending in college, thanks to these NSDNs, made us very serious and crafty about the world of acting and the art of theater. And there started criticizing that, okay, maybe even though I'm from a very middle class family, even though my father is just a government employee, even though there is no background in arts as such, there is no propertied class, we are not a propertied class who can sponsor us forever. But I thought I could, instead of everything else, I could dive into this and make something out of it, not knowing what, not knowing whether I will be in Bombay or film industry or this and that. But definitely in the world of art and culture, I thought I could make a mark. This was in the callow age of 1890.
Sure.
And thereafter, one thing followed another. I kind of created my own space and journey to reach wherever I did.
Sure. So recently we saw you in Night Manager in a very interesting role, and you were like fantastic, I must say. So how did Night Manager happen to you?
You see, I worked in a series called Arya. I did a cameo in the 5th episode. So it was a very interesting cameo. It was a very specific characterization that I had to do, I had to build. I improvised a lot and I created some stuff in that series. With my scenes were all with Sushmita Sen, about 4-5 scenes with her, and they were very interesting chemistry we created. It was a one-off character which comes. He gets manipulated by Sushmita Sen's character, lands up in jail, but ends up helping her in the series. So that was directed by the same duo who directed Night Manager, which is Sandeep Modi and Priyanka Ghosh. So they worked with me in that series. And when they were making Night Manager, they again came across a character which was not run of the mill. Like, there are certain characters which are very definite. You know that these are lead characters, these are swashbuckling, this is this, this is this. But there are certain characters who are in a very strange space. You have to build those characters up. They're not always fully formed characters, and normally they're neglected characters. Yeah, so because when you have the lead characters, the characters who are in dramatic conflict with each other, they are very definite characters. They are very easy to dive into and chew into. But characters which are in the background, but doing a lot of things, contributing in a way which is not necessarily noticeable, are very difficult to create. So actually, Sandeep suggested my name to the casting director. Nowadays, everything happens with the casting process, thankfully. The casting director tested me and I was kind of sanctioned the very next day. And then when it came to building it, I have to say it was a lot thanks to the process which was there. We had a workshop. I was given the entire script of Night Manager in advance. Imagine, I'm doing a small character, not one of the big character, peripheral character. But the entire script of Night Manager was given to me in advance. I was given the deals and details of the raw, which I was going to represent in the thing in advance. All the notes, all the specificities of raw. Thankfully, my father was also from the intelligence section of the government. He was a directorate of revenue intelligence. He was an intelligence officer. So I knew a little bit about how the intelligence world works and what are the pressures there, what are the scope for corruption, how does the superiors operate, and pulls and pushes. I knew that world. I knew that aspect. And I knew how a middle class in such a situation behaves or responds, So we had workshops where we had to build a character. So I had certain suggestions which I gave, they were accepted. And on floor, director Sandeep Modi and Priyanka Ghosh both were extremely nuanced themselves in their direction. It's very
Sure.
important as directors to be nuanced, because an actor can create a nuance, but if the director doesn't understand, if he wants only a broad stroke, he or she, then you can't do anything. Then you have to perform big. But to
True.
do small performances, tiny, subtle things, you need the directors to understand that, oh, okay, this can work, that can work, this won't work, that won't work. So we worked collaboratively, and so I created the character with its own shades of a person who is docile by nature, wants to play safe, but wants to do good, can't take risk himself, but doesn't mind helping another person who is taking risk, is an idealist but is completely pressurized by the system to bend his head, but is always looking for a door or a window where he can also bend the system, etc., etc. So all those convoluted and conflicting stuff which was inside this person, and to be able to take it out, which I love in cinema, reactively, not actively. See, acting can be very active acting, your
Sure.
dialogues and your drama and blah, blah. But when you don't have that, it's a wonderful space when you have to react, when you're completely responding to the situation around you and allowing that to be captured on camera. So I got that chance in Night Manager, where I was allowing the camera to capture all that was going inside me, whether it's a fear, whether it's a dilemma, whether it's a fearlessness, whatever. It was all being captured with the camera, not necessarily dramatically. So I like that. I enjoyed that.
Okay. So Hazar Chaurasi Ki Maa was the
Yeah,
Hindi debut. Okay, you debuted with
yeah,
that movie itself, and it got you a
yeah,
lot of limelight on you. So how did you
yeah, yeah.
prepare for such a complex character? Did any kind of your theater work play a role in that?
Massively. Actually, being a Bengali, I was very aware of that world.
Sure.
Being a child who grew up in the 70s and 80s, I was very much aware of the remnants of that period, of the Naxalite period. You know,
Sure.
Coming from a family whose extended family was involved directly or indirectly with the movement and the idealism of the time helped. Me, myself, in my grown up year, was involved with a progressive cultural movement in Delhi. I
Sure.
was active, and I was doing political theater. I was doing theater which was political, which was progressive, which was saying things, which was risky. It was completely anti-establishment, anti-government, whatever you call it. And I was doing that. I was doing that in forms of street theater. I was doing it in different, uh, in working class areas, in villages here, there. So my life was a lot on the road with the common man, and culturally being involved in a sort of a cultural revolution. So I was having that world within me anyway. That Brati in my character, his idealism and his penchant for wanting a change from what is around him, his whole deal with his father, that his father represents a system which he hates, and his conflict
Sure.
with his father, his shielding his mother from his world because he's scared that his mother will get emotionally affected by it. All of that I could borrow directly from the world around me, from my family, and stuff like that. And then there is, of course, Mahashweta Devi's vision, Govind Nilani's understanding of the story of the film, and him guiding me through and through. That was my first film, so I needed guidance as far as camera acting is concerned. I'd done television before, so I knew,
Of course.
but cinema is still very different. Cinema is very different. It's much larger, much wider. Its focus is much different than television. So I needed guidance as to how to translate my idea of Bruti into what will fit into Govind Nilani's vision of Bruti. So
Okay.
that's where he kind of guided me, and that was the process.
So you are talking about it. How do you approach a role? What kind of guidance are you talking about?
It's very simple, and I tell this to everybody. A human being's own life is his raw material, first and
Sure.
foremost. First and foremost. So how you live your life, how fully you live your life, how observant are you, how much do you absorb from around you. It's not just what you live, but what you absorb from others who are living. All of that is your raw material, which you pour into any film, theater, subject, whatever. Because all films, theaters borrow from subjects which are from life. Even if it's a fantasy, it is borrowed from life. So obviously you have to understand life before you do that.
True.
So your observation, your sense of assimilation, and your sense of analysis plays a big. What you cannot borrow from around you, you can borrow from books. So that's where, history, philosophy, politics plays a massive role. You borrow from history, you borrow from other people's lives, you borrow from everything that has gone around and is going around again and again. So all of that becomes your raw material. Then comes your technique of acting that you have to learn. You have to develop your own technique. Everybody has an individual technique of approaching a character. How you do it depends on your understanding of yourself, your body, your face, your voice, your everything. Talent you may be born with, but technique you have to develop. Technique you have to develop. Craft you learn in an acting school or in a workshop or by working again and again and again. But the technique of approaching a character, defining a character, interpreting a character, that's a technique which is very, very personal. And my technique is, as I said, largely contributed by my understanding of life from both literature and my living life and from other people that I've seen and observed and my imagination. What you cannot find in the script, you have to fill in the blanks with imagination. There will be things in the script which will give you the cue. So script is utmost important for every actor. A good script, a well-written story and character will solve 70% of your problem. But still there will be 30% where you have to fill in. Fill in, as I said, with your experience or with your imagination. What is not there sometimes, suppose I'm playing a Greek tragic character from 3000 BC. You've not seen it. You've not lived it. I've not been Achilles ever in my life. But to play Achilles, I have to use my imagination also. I will look at the historical aspect. I will read the myths of Achilles and Odysseus and everything that has been written at that period. I will obviously borrow everything from the script, which has been written for the film or for the play, whatever is there. But my imagination will come in as to how I think my body language should be as Achilles, as to how my neck movement will be as Achilles, how my eyes will be still or moving, what kind of rhythm I should have as Achilles, what should be my grace level, what should be my awkward level, everything that will come from my technique, my analysis. And large part of it is instinctive. And that's the last part where you have to instinctively react to the script, react to the director's interpretation and vision, react to the space where you're performing. That reaction creates the final product. A lot of people go into thinking too much, overthinking, overcomplicating. Not needed. Not needed. Your life is giving you a lot of insight. The script is giving you a lot of insight. Director is giving you a lot of insight. Your craft will help you to get through it. Now just react instinctively to the situation, to the space, to the direction, to the material, and things will happen.
Okay, so coming to the favorite question of mine for today itself.
Yeah.
Captain America is my favorite character in Marvel Universe.
In the multiverse, yeah.
And,
Marvel Universe, yeah.
And you play the Hindi voice for Captain America.
Yeah.
So can you please tell us more about it?
Well, you see, I had done voicing before, and I had done action films, I had done animation films and stuff like that, but I had never played a superhero, a mythical character. And how will that superhero translate into an Indian cultural situation for a regional audience?
Sure.
See, when we watch the English Captain America, we are basically absorbing the Western construct of the myth of Captain America, of their history, their World War situation, all of that. And that's where the Western construct of the character will have its own quirks and own manner of speaking and stuff. But when you're doing it for your regional audience, the regional flavor has to come in. It must be able to connect with your own masses. So there comes in the cultural shift, the slight cultural shift that happens. It's a shift of language also. In English, a lot of things are expressed economically by one line, half a line. One word expresses, yeah, yep. In English can express a lot when you say, or don't know. Somebody says something, don't know. With what attitude you say, says a lot of things. But in Hindi, you can't say, ha, and that will express everything. Or pata nahi will express, no. You have to actually construct much more words or, clear it for the masses and stuff like that. And then again, a lot of proverbs which are used in English doesn't work in Hindi. So the proverbs change, the reference points change, things change. So there's a slight cultural shift that happens. But the actual performance has been done. You can't change the actual performance. The body language is there on the screen. The expressions are there on the screen. The gravitas of the voice is there on the screen. You know all of that. That is there. It's been done by Chris Evans, right?
True.
So what you do is you match that. But problem is you're not matching it with your body language or facial expression. You have to only match it with your voice. So your voice must match what his body is saying, what his face is saying, what his eyes are saying. You match it with your voice, just your voice. That's all. So there, the entire art or the grammar of acting shifts only to voice. It's like if you close your eyes and I read something, you should be able to visualize everything.
Sure.
On the other hand, if you open your eyes, you'll be watching me, my entire being perform. But in dubbing or in voice acting, your voice should be able to create visuals in front of your eyes.
Sure. So you've acted in so many films, OTTs,
Yeah.
theater. So if I ask you any particular character or role which is close to your heart, which would that be?
Well, Brati was very, very close to my heart. My first film, Brati, was very close to my heart. That character as a human being was very close to my heart because I had a Brati inside me. For the longest amount of time, I harbored a Brati, a dreamer.
Sure.
A dreamer with innocence and idealism, but political acumen. I harbored that character inside me, even before I played Brati. So that is obviously one of my favorite characters. Then I did one Bengali film called Bilu Rakshash.
Yes.
Okay, that was on Netflix. Yeah, that was an award-winning film. It was on Netflix. That's one of my favorite characters because Bilu represents our time now, where a person wants everything and ends up getting nothing completely. Our time of neo-consumerism, where we want money, we want lifestyle, we want house, where we want wife, children, family, and a world outside, friends and consumption and booze and this and that. We also want to have hobbies and art and sports, everything we want. But we are never able to focus on the core of who we are. And therefore, we end up being nothing. So Bilu was that kind of character who hankered for a lot, but ended up completely alone with nothing. And his mental state, he gets twisted. He starts imagining things. He starts living in a world of delusion, a singular world of delusion, which only leads to ending of life. So it was a very, very subtle, fine line, complex explanation of our time that we are living. Meaning of success. I mean, and now with Instagram and this and that, what world people are living in. There's a make-believe world, which everybody believes that's your life. And there's a life which you are leading yourself, which you know what is there. But because others believe your life is this, you want them to believe, you also start believing that, oh, this is my life. But it is not. So many other things will strike your life and you'll be in smithereens. But you cannot project that to others because others will think, oh, poor you. So all this compartmentalization of yourself. Imagine if my camera goes deep into your head, what do I get? So you get a bill. So that was another character. But my favoriteest character that I've ever played was in theater, a play called Sammy, where I played the character of M.K. Gandhi. And I played a character called Mohan, which is not before he became Gandhi, Mohan Das, a simple, average Vaishnav boy from Kathiawad, who is just like you and me with all his faults and all his problems. How does he experiment with his life? How does he negotiate with his life, choose the right path, and decides not to compromise and goes on to become what people call Mahatma? So I played that character from age 26 to age 74. So that was a sense of discovery. It was a journey, learning, education, and also a sort of an epic, what should I say, scope for performance. So yeah, so Sammy and playing M.K. Gandhi in that was a big achievement for me. I got Mahindra Excellence Award for playing that award for that character. Yeah.
Okay. So OTT has changed the way we consume content. I mean, like, it
Yeah,
has created a lot of opportunities, but at the
yeah.
same time, so much of content that we are consuming. So, as a creator, okay, how do
Yeah.
you understand what is going to work in today's time?
It's very tough, because anything which is dependent on the market will work on the idea of demand and supply. If
Sure.
people are demanding thrillers, people are consuming thrillers, everybody's going to make thrillers. Thrillers. Norwegian thriller, French thriller, American thriller, English thriller, so Indian thriller. Thriller, people consuming thriller by the day, by the night, by everything. Right? If they feel that, okay, women is a primary audience and they want women characters, so they will make everything around the women character, women struggle, women this, woman that. And so it will all be straight jacketed into one kind of genre. So
Okay.
demand and supply has its own rules and regulations, which nobody else can control because it's governed by the market, right?
Of
It's
course.
OTT is a market player. Unlike a personal medium like theater or painting or poetry, OTT is a market driven. But having said that, because OTT is a long form storytelling and not never ending storytelling, there is a beginning and end to a story. There is the need to engage the audience by creating characters or situations which are believable,
Sure.
authentic, while imposing drama in them. So that necessity is there because the primary audience of OTT is still a large section of educated middle class. So you want to cater to their sensibility and their sensibility being exposed to the what's happening around the world. So you cannot bullshit them too much. So
Of
there
course.
is a certain uh, 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 parameter which works in OTT where there is a certain authenticity, there is a certain slice of life which comes in. The characterizations are more definite. There is instead of just those typical Bollywood angle of just a hero or a heroine with a villain and a sidekick and a comedian, the stock characters. In OTT, we don't have stock characters. We have plethora of characters. It doesn't matter whether the character is coming in one episode or 10 episodes. Each one has to be uh, vital and vibrant and portrayed accurate. So that is a good space. That's a positive space. The negative space, which is this pure mode of consumption. Because if we are only consuming, we will never experience something.
Of
When
course.
we are given a table full of cakes, pastries, burgers, this, that, we will be just consuming a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and lots of things, then end up with a stomach ache. But on the other hand, if our grandmother prepares a particular rare gourmet meal from her recipe book, 3 or 4 dishes from her generation, and we taste that, we experience that, we talk about it, we discuss about it, we develop a palate and understanding of history of food. That is not going to happen if you're just going to consume non-stop. Then we are going to move from one consumption mode to another consumption mode. ये खत्म हो गया दूसरा, ये खत्म हो गया तीसरा. This is the difference between
Sure.
going to a hall, watching a film, coming out with that film, living with that film for a few hours at least, if not the whole day, and then deciding, should I be watching another film and spoiling this experience? That is to happen with cinema. With OTT, there is no such question. You are watching, pausing, talking, pausing, opening the door, pausing, taking another call, going to the loo, eating, pausing,
Very true.
reviewing, previewing, going back, going forward, this, that, then moving to the another one. It's just it's too much.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, please tell us about your upcoming projects.
I've done this year. I've done 3 back-to-back films, all interesting ones. The first film that I did in February was a film which is based on a true story about a Catholic priest from Kerala who was accused of rape and murder. The
Hmm.
film is about whether he actually committed or was he framed.
Okay.
So an interesting film. It's called Confession,
Okay.
directed by Anand Mahadevan. Nana Patekar plays the title character. I play a very interesting character in that. The next film is a very important film. Very important film. It is a biopic of Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Phule, the Dalit icon, Jyotiba Phule, the earliest educationist of India, Jyotiba Phule, who is a cult reformist, social and cultural reformist of India, Jyotiba
Okay.
Phule, who was considered to be a guru by Dr. Ambedkar, Jyotiba Phule, who lifted the women folk and the lower caste during his lifespan. So it's a biopic on him.
Okay.
So that's a very important film. There also I'm playing a very antagonist, of course, but a very important character, an interesting character. And the third film is a very quirky film. It's a horror comedy. It's in the science fiction horror comic space. It's a very indie project, very small budget project, done with a lot of hard work with no money, literally, but hopefully it will come out decently. So these are the three films which will come out. I have got a couple of Bengali films also coming out. A very interesting period thriller, which will come out
Okay.
based around 1950s. It should come out pretty well. I did one excellent art house film in Bengali, which should now get to do the festival circuit. It's called Mind Flies. It's a very interesting. It's about it. The focus is on the life in the streets. So some characters who live in the streets, but each one has a story of today's India, socially, politically. So my story is connected to one of these characters and stuff like that. So very, very interesting film, Mind Flies. Uh, it's I would call that film a sort of a global film, not just a Bengali or a Hindi film. So that is there. Plays are going on. My shows of Vodka and No Tonic, which is based on the lockdown Liazo by Shobha De, is still touring. I've got a lot of tours coming up
Of
in
course.
Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta, etc., etc. Some new play maybe. I don't know. Let's see.
A lot of work actually. Okay. So my last question to you: what would be your advice
Yeah.
to the budding actors? Especially, like, we started talking about the importance of education. So in that point, if
Yeah.
you can suggest something.
I see there are different kinds of actors who come from different spaces. See,
Sure.
when we talk about acting, we are always confusing it with one space, which is the commercial Bombay space. As if every actor has to be in Bombay and has to be in Bollywood. It's not that, right? There are folk actors in the interiors of India who are working in their region. They may be farmers, that's their day job, but they're also actors. They do folk plays in festivals. They have proper festivals where they do these folk plays, where they play these myriad characters. They are natural talents. They are not trained talents. They are born with it. It's part of their DNA. That dance, that singing tradition, that movement, that comic timing, it is part of their DNA. And they do it day in and day out, which none of the urban actors like us can ever do. It just comes from that. They're growing up, their tradition, their history. They're folk actors. They don't have to be in Bombay. They don't have to be in OTT or anything. They exist. Then there are actors who are in the region, may not be folk actors, but in the regions who are doing theater, and they're doing theater with a purpose. They may also have some day job. Who knows? But they are very, very passionate about theater. They come back from office and they go for rehearsal. They prepare a play, a well-written play, a play which is communicating some very important and very topical idea, and they want to do that thing. That is very important. Again, they don't have to be in other mediums to feel important, because what they're doing is very important. They are culturally educating the people at a day-to-day basis by their theater. Then comes the phenomena of the urban commercial space actors, where there are different mediums which is absorbing actors now. Earlier, it was very difficult for people to get into just cinema. So television happened and television absorbed a lot of actors. But television was not really satisfying acting or writing or anything, because the way it was in India. So OTT came as an alternative. So that absorbed the other kind of actors, serious actors,
Sure.
theater actors, etc. So actors have got now a lot of space, a lot of work. Actors learn from work. But my advice or my cue to everyone is always the same. First, one has to know, understand, and ask what kind of talent I have. Is my talent purely for acting? Is it for singing? Is it for dancing? Is it for writing? Is it for painting? What is my talent? Everybody has a talent.
Sure.
Everybody has a talent. Some has talent with numbers, so they become mathematicians. Some have talents with plants, so they go into botany or whatever. So you have to have a talent for acting. That's the basic. Then it helps if you develop that talent through a certain practice. It's like sports. You are born with a particular talent of Sachin Tendulkar or Saurav Ganguly, but you still go to a coaching center, coaching class. You practice also your junior level. You play matches where you bring in your coaching. You still practice hard before every match. You have camps, you have net practice. After every day's game, you still go and practice. Why do we do it? Why do sports people do that? So much of practice, so much of correcting in the nets, asking the coach and everything. Where is my defense going wrong? Where is my offense going wrong? Why do they do it? There must be some reason for it's for betterment to perfect. So actors also have to work on their talent by this constant rigor and practice. Then, as I said, you have to develop your own technique. It is that technique which will help you to uh, create what you get,
Of course.
and
True.
strike well. And after that, in this particular space, the element of luck is definitely there. You may do the best of work, but that may not go to the audience, reach the audience. You may do the worst of work, but it may reach the audience. So that element of luck is not controlled by you. What is
True.
controlled by you is your talent, your hard work, and your constant practice to keep yourself, keep your muscle memory always active. Then you get an audition, you get one chance, you strike. And the imprint stays in the mind of the onlooker. Because even if you don't get the character or the role, because of ABCD reason, the one who is taking the audition keeps you in mind and says, my God, this guy did something which was phenomenal. I will definitely try to work with him in
True.
future. That strike I'm talking about. That is what every actor should look for. But to do that, all this process has to come into view. So you cannot be an actor sitting at home. You cannot be an actor only in your head. You cannot be an actor just by dreaming of acting. You have to act. You have to work. You have to practice. You have to read. You have to absorb. You have to learn, unlearn. All of that has to be a constant rigor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sengupta. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.